The beachfront Airbnb was the kind of place that looked like it belonged in a lifestyle magazine. Tall windows opened onto a sweeping view of the ocean, with gauzy white curtains dancing in the breeze like the hem of a wedding dress. The interior was boho chic, wicker lamps, rattan furniture, textured pillows, and glasses perpetually half-filled with rosé. It was the last weekend before Mia's wedding, and everything felt curated to perfection. Her friends had gone all out. There were personalized robes, a playlist titled, Mia's Last Ride, heart-shaped sunglasses, and a cake with the words, Future Mrs. Caldwell, written in pink buttercream. They were loud, happy, already slightly tipsy when Mia stepped out of the bathroom in her satin bridal white pajama set. Her cheeks flushed with wine and excitement. Hair undone, laughter easy. It was one of those nights that felt light and consequence-free. The kind of night girls are told to remember before everything changes. They toasted again, for the 5th or maybe 10th time that night. And when the Bluetooth speaker switched to a more upbeat song, someone, Lara, Mia's college roommate, raised her voice over the chorus. "Okay," she announced, wobbling slightly in her wedge heels. "New game, one last dare before Mia becomes a wife. Let's play Tinder roulette." The room responded with a mix of gasps, giggles, and one, "Oh my god. No way. Yes way." Lara grinned. "We make a new Tinder profile for Mia. Just for tonight. Everyone takes a turn swiping. And whoever gets the hottest match wins. If he messages, bonus points." Mia laughed, cheeks turning a deeper pink. "You're insane. But I'm fun. And you love me." Lara shot back, already unlocking Mia's phone. "I don't know." Mia hesitated, but didn't stop her. The others crowded around, fueled by wine, mischief, and a desire to immortalize the night in stories they'd retell for years. Mia was never the reckless one, always the careful planner. The peacemaker, the one with curated Instagram grids and calendar reminders for everything. But tonight, the lines blurred. Maybe it was the sound of the waves, or the echo of her name being chanted playfully by her friends. Or maybe it was the wine whispering that nothing mattered just yet. She handed Lara the phone. "Fine, but you all owe me if this backfires." They cheered as the new profile was born, Mia. 29. Bride-to-be. "Just here for one wild night with my girls." The bio was a joke. The pictures even more so. One of her sipping champagne, one candid from college, and one of her in the Airbnb kitchen with a wooden spoon like a microphone. They swiped and laughed, rating potential matches like judges at a talent show. And then, he appeared. His name was Caleb, or at least that's what the profile said. He had dark hair, a 5 o'clock shadow that framed a crooked but undeniably charming smile, and eyes that seemed to sparkle even in a low-res selfie. His bio was short, just passing through. Likes dogs, whiskey, and people who say what they mean. Lara whistled. 10 out of 10. Mia looked at the screen. There was something magnetic, unassuming confidence, a quiet challenge. She didn't even remember swiping. All she remembered was that it was a match. Everyone screamed, "He's messaging!" Someone shrieked. And sure enough, there it was. "Hey there. Bride-to-be. Dare I ask what kind of wild night this is?" Mia grinned, but there was a flicker of something else in her eyes now. A hesitation, a question rising through the fog of alcohol and adrenaline. She typed back. The messages flew fast after that. Banter, flirtation, a little bit of confessional intimacy that felt easier because it was destined to disappear by morning. Caleb was funny, sharp, surprisingly introspective. He wasn't crude or pushy, just present. The girls eventually drifted off to the hot tub, leaving Mia with her phone in one hand and a strange heat rising in her chest. When he asked where she was staying, she paused, looked around at the empty wine glasses, the open bags of chips, the trail of rose petals meant for decoration. Then she typed, "Villa Azure, down by North Point Beach." He replied, "I know it. Want to grab a drink somewhere quieter?" She stared at the screen. Her heart thudded in her chest. Was this still a game? The air was thick with salt and wine and possibility. And recklessness. She texted back, "Send an address." It wasn't a bar, it was a boutique hotel a few blocks away. Lobby dimly lit, scent of lavender in the air. Jazz humming from somewhere invisible. He was already at the bar when she walked in, wearing a button-down that made him look like he hadn't tried too hard. The moment their eyes met, everything else, the Bachelorette games, the bridal robe, the promises waiting in the next week, slid quietly to the edge of her awareness. He bought her a whiskey. They talked, about nothing, about everything, about fear, and change, and the terrifying notion of forever. He made her laugh, but differently, not the cackling joy she shared with her girls. A softer kind, a kind that curled around the edges of her soul and made her forget there was a wedding dress hanging in a room just down the coast. When he touched her arm, lightly, casually, she didn't flinch. When he leaned in, she didn't turn away. At some point, someone must have texted her. Maybe Lara, maybe none of them noticed she'd left. Or maybe they noticed but figured it was harmless. Just MIA being MIA, always the good girl. Never the liability, but MIA wasn't sure who she was right then. And when they stepped into the elevator, she didn't speak, she just let herself be led. The hallway was quiet, the carpet too soft, the room too warm. The door clicked shut behind them with the finality of a choice made and not taken back. Under dim yellow light, MIA did not think of Ryan. Or perhaps she did, but not in a way that stopped her. She thought of how he always asked before kissing her, how he always left the light on low because she hated the dark, how he planned to write his vows instead of winging them like she planned to. And she hated herself for how that thought made her feel boxed in. Not loved. And so, in the room where no one knew her name, where nothing had to be remembered, she let the moment pull her under. Somewhere down the beach, her friends laughed in a hot tub, tipsy and glowing, and someone, maybe Lara, maybe another girl, held a phone and whispered, "Mia's gonna kill us," as they hit record, but no one stopped it. Because it was all just a joke, a game, until it wasn't. Jared knew it was her the moment she stepped into the hotel lobby. He was leaning against the bar, two fingers wrapped around a lowball glass, a slow swirl of bourbon catching the light. There was a mirror behind the bartender, and in it, Jared had been half watching the door. He hadn't expected the Tinder match to show. Not really, but when she did, when MIA walked in, wrapped in that breezy, dangerous aura of someone who didn't quite know what she was doing, his heart dropped before he could stop it. MIA. Of course it was MIA. Time hadn't changed her, not in the way that mattered. Her walk was still poised but slightly hesitant, like she was trying to convince herself she belonged wherever she was. Her hair was longer, her face a little older, but her eyes, those were exactly the same. Eyes that used to sit beside Ryan's at every house party back in college. Eyes that sparkled when they laughed at his jokes, when they whispered dreams into red Solo cups. Jared didn't move, he didn't say anything, he simply turned toward her with a half smile, the kind that didn't betray recognition, and waited. And MIA, she didn't recognize him, not through the dim lighting, not through the haze of rosé and adrenaline. Or maybe she did and didn't let herself process it. She walked toward him like he was no one, like this was nothing. He held her gaze, let her sit down, let her talk, let her sin, and he played along, because that was the game she started. She spoke of fears, of marriage, of losing herself. Her words spilled out like water from a broken cup, and Jared caught every drop with quiet interest. He didn't need to prod, he only needed to listen. And the more she spoke, the more her story unraveled. She didn't mention Ryan by name, but she didn't have to. Jared had seen the Instagram posts, the engagement ring, the countdowns. She was MIA Jameson, Ryan Caldwell's fiancé, the golden couple from sophomore year, the ones who used to share matching hoodies and dreams about a house in Maine. Jared had once admired them. And now, he watched MIA step into his room, her laughter too loud, her conscience too quiet. She looked around like she was trying to memorize nothing. her fingers fumbling slightly as she pulled off her earrings. She didn't ask him to stop. She didn't hesitate, and he let her. He didn't touch his phone that night, but he knew the moment would need to be remembered. So when the morning light filtered through the curtains, painting streaks of gold across the sheets, Jared got up first. He didn't wake her, just leaned against the dresser, turned on his phone, and watched the short video again, the one of Mia's friends had shared in a group chat. Probably as a joke, a blurry clip of Mia entering the hotel, laughing, disappearing behind a door. Jared cropped it, focused only on the moment where her face was unmistakable. He typed one line, "This is the woman you're marrying," and he sent it to Ryan. Ryan was in their shared apartment when the message came in. The morning sun was streaming through the half-open blinds. He was standing in the kitchen, folding napkins into triangles for the rehearsal dinner. He'd always been the detail-oriented one. Mia had called it endearing, until she didn't. The notification buzzed once, then again. He picked up his phone and saw the name, Jared H. His stomach tightened. They hadn't spoken in years. Not since graduation. He opened the message, watched the clip, once, then twice. He didn't blink, didn't react. His heart beat slower, not faster. His breath didn't catch. It simply stopped altogether for a few seconds. Then resumed. He didn't scream, didn't call, didn't send angry texts or demand explanations. He only stood still, the phone loose in his hand. His body suddenly very quiet, very alone. The silence of truth, when it finally arrives, is not explosive. It's surgical, clean, cold. Ryan placed the phone down, gently, like it might shatter. Then he walked to the bedroom. He took out the navy blue suit he'd planned to wear to the wedding. Folded it neatly, next to it, the matching tie Mia had chosen, insisting it brought out the green in his eyes. He placed both in a box. Then the ring, still in its velvet case, untouched since the day he picked it up from the jeweler who called it a timeless piece. Ryan looked at it for a long moment, then closed the box. The wedding invitations were still on the dresser, stacks of them, thick with gold foil lettering and embossed with their names. He picked them up one by one and stacked them on top of the suit. He didn't pack anything else. He didn't write a note. He carried the box to the car. Drove to Mia's apartment, parked on the street. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels ceremonial. He walked to her door, placed the box gently on the welcome mat, adjusted it so it wouldn't tip. Then he turned, got back into the car, and drove away. No horn, no screech, no storm, just distance. Jared didn't hear back, but he didn't expect to. Some betrayals don't need confrontation. They don't need closure. They simply require the right kind of silence. The kind that ends things completely. And in that silence, 3 lives changed forever. Mia woke up alone. The bed cold beside her. The air different. She reached for her phone, still blurry-eyed, and saw nothing unusual, except the time. Except the sudden weight of a hangover she couldn't name. Except that her heart was beating too fast. And she didn't know why. Yet. But soon, she would. Soon, she would open her door and see the box. The folded suit, the ring, the stack of golden invitations. And understand that not every goodbye needs words. Some come wrapped in dignity so quiet it feels like thunder in reverse. It started with a whisper. The kind of whisper that spreads faster than fire because it's fed not by air, but by amusement, judgment, and the terrible thrill of someone else's downfall. Mia had returned to the beach house the next morning. Makeup smudged, silence thick between her and the girls who had partied so loudly just hours before. The sun was already high, casting a blinding light into the living room where half-empty glasses and deflated balloons lay like evidence. No one said much. Lara avoided eye contact. 2 of the other girls were on their phones, suspiciously quiet, and someone, Mia didn't see who, had packed their bag already. She showered, trying to wash off more than just the sweat and perfume. She scrubbed until her skin was pink and raw, but it didn't touch the heaviness that had settled in her chest. She kept replaying the night in her head. But it came in flashes. Fragments, his smile, the softness of the bed, the way the door had clicked shut. It wasn't until she checked her phone that she realized something had cracked beyond repair. Her notifications had tripled. Texts from unknown numbers, mentions on Instagram, comments pouring in beneath a photo of her in her white bridal robe. Captioned, "Last weekend of freedom." The comments weren't congratulatory. They were sharp, cruel, unrelenting. Tinder bride, queen of last night. She wasn't kidding about last ride. MIA froze. Her thumb hovered over the screen. She opened her DMs. Dozens of messages, some from strangers, some from acquaintances she hadn't spoken to in years. Then, the group chat, the one from the Bachelorette party. Messages flying fast. One voice note from Lara, "Okay. Who the hell leaked it?" And then, it came from Jared's number. He screen recorded it. "I thought it was just a joke. He said he knew her fiancé." Oh my god. MIA dropped the phone. Her breath quickened. She bent to pick it up. Palms slick. The messages blurred as her eyes stung. She opened the clip. It was the video, not from inside the hotel room, but from the hallway, grainy, poorly lit, but clear enough to show her walking into that door, laughing, brushing her hair behind her ear. Her name wasn't mentioned, but it didn't have to be. Her face was right there. Someone had added text to it, "Fiancé vibes," followed by laughing emojis. The post had already been shared. The reposts multiplied. Some accounts she didn't even follow. Pages that thrived on gossip, relationship drama, real stories from real weddings. They added commentary, sarcasm, fake sympathy, and the followers started disappearing. She checked Ryan's profile. His photo was gone. His relationship status changed. The engagement photos, deleted. And then, her message to him, "Please, I need to explain." No response. She called, straight to voicemail. Again, and again, and again. She sat on the edge of the bed with her phone clutched to her chest like it could still transmit hope. But all it returned was silence. And maybe that was worse than screaming. Worse than a fight. Because in silence, there was nothing to respond to. Nothing to fix. Just the open space where a voice used to be. Her mind raced to reasons. Excuses. She'd been drunk. They'd all been drunk. The game was supposed to be harmless. She didn't mean for it to go that far. She didn't mean for Jared to record it. She didn't mean for Ryan to find out that way. But meaning didn't matter. Intentions didn't soften betrayal. And once a crack forms, no matter how small, it only spreads. By the next day, mutual friends had started quietly unfollowing her. One sent a text, "Hey, this is awkward. Just need time to process everything." Another wrote, "I think it's best we don't stay in touch for now." The wedding planner sent an email, "We understand there might be a change in the event. Please confirm the status of your booking." The bridal store called to say the final fitting had been cancelled. MIA wanted to scream, to explain, to undo. She crafted a long message to Ryan, poured every ounce of herself into it, describing the night, the mistake, the regret, the fact that she hadn't known who Jared was, that she'd felt lost, scared of the future, that she didn't sleep with him to hurt Ryan, that it didn't mean she didn't love him. She deleted it. Because what if he never even read it? What if it didn't matter anymore? She tried calling Lara. "Why didn't you stop me?" she asked. There was a pause, then a tired voice. "Because I thought you knew what you were doing." We all did. The line went dead. And for the first time, MIA realized the most terrifying thing about losing Ryan wasn't that he was gone. It was that no one, not her friends, not the bridesmaids, not even her own reflection, seemed to be on her side anymore. She scrolled through her photo gallery. Hundreds of pictures, trips with Ryan, dinners, silly faces in the bathroom mirror, the video of him proposing on the snowy hill, tears in his eyes. She tapped on it, watched it in silence. Then she saw herself in the mirror beside him, smiling, gleaming, the woman she used to be, the woman people used to admire. She closed the gallery, turned the phone off, sat there in the dim room where laughter had lived just nights before, and listened. Not to anyone else. Just to the crack. Spreading deeper. Quieter. Final. MIA found Jared in a cafe 2 blocks from where her life had quietly fallen apart. The world hadn't ended in flames or fury, it had simply shifted. Almost imperceptibly, into something unrecognizable. The morning was overcast, the sky blank and sullen, as though the city itself had gone quiet to listen to what was about to unfold. The cafe was small, tucked behind a bookstore that used to be her and Ryan's Sunday ritual. She hadn't come here for nostalgia. She came for truth. She spotted Jared immediately. He sat by the window. Sleeves rolled, laptop open beside a half-finished espresso. He looked impossibly calm, no signs of guilt or discomfort. Just a man immersed in his own quiet logic. That composure made her jaw clench. She paused for a moment, her reflection briefly catching in the glass door, windblown hair. Dark circles beneath her eyes. A face unaccustomed to shame. She walked in, her heels silent on the wooden floor. Jared looked up before she even reached him. He didn't look surprised. His eyes followed her like someone expecting a letter to arrive late but intact. She sat down without asking, took off her sunglasses with fingers that trembled slightly, more from rage than nerves. "Why did you send it?" Her voice was low but sharp, like a blade she hadn't fully unsheathed. Jared blinked slowly, then leaned back in his chair. He studied her as if she were a painting he didn't quite recognize anymore. "I thought he deserved the truth," he said evenly, then, after a beat, "and maybe, so did you." His words didn't explode, they settled like ash, heavy, final. MIA scoffed, but it came out weaker than intended. "That wasn't your choice to make." He tilted his head, unimpressed. "Was it yours? That hotel room, that night, that laugh?" She flinched. The laugh. Even she couldn't forget it. Too free, too loud, as if the walls of that hotel had swallowed her conscience whole. "I was drunk," she said. "We all were. It was a game. Stupid. Harmless. I didn't mean to hurt him." Jared cut in. "You didn't mean to hurt Ryan?" She looked away. Outside, a man passed by walking a golden retriever that looked just like the one she and Ryan had talked about adopting. A ridiculous thought bloomed. Was this karma? Mocking her with lost futures? "I didn't think it would matter," she whispered. "And yet, here we are." The silence between them stretched. Not empty, no. It was full of ghosts. Old dorm rooms, beer pong, shared lectures. Jared had been there through it all. Not close, but observant, always watching. "I recognized you the second you walked into that hotel lobby," he said, "but you didn't recognize me. And maybe that's the point. You didn't see me, you didn't see anyone, not Ryan, not yourself." Her hands curled into fists beneath the table. "You didn't have to film it." "I didn't," Jared said, "but someone else did. I just passed it along. With context." "And what context was that?" He sipped his coffee. "That the woman Ryan loved walked into a hotel room with a stranger and didn't look back." She stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. "This conversation's over." Jared didn't stop her. He just nodded, not smug, not triumphant, just sad, as if mourning something already buried. She left the cafe with air too thin in her lungs and thoughts too loud in her skull. That night, her phone rang. Her mother's name lit up the screen like a spotlight she wasn't ready for. Her thumb hovered. Then, she answered. "MIA?" The voice came. Soft but brittle. "Is it true?" MIA closed her eyes. "Yes." There was a pause, then a sound, like something folding inward, like an old chair collapsing. "I raised you better," her mother whispered. "Your father and Ryan was like a son." "It was a mistake," MIA said. "A horrible mistake." "That wasn't a mistake," her mother replied. "That was a moment you chose. Over and over. Don't call it anything less than what it was." "Mom, please. We're all hurting," her mother said. "But you're the one who held the match. And now we all burn." Click. MIA sat in the dark. Alone but not alone. Surrounded by echoes. By fragments of conversations she couldn't erase. The couch where she and Ryan used to nap. The coffee table where their guestbook sat. now untouched. The walls still held photos, but they looked staged now, artificial, uninhabited. She picked up her phone, scrolled through her camera roll, paused on a video. Ryan, building a bookshelf, his shirt dusted with sawdust, laughing at her off-screen teasing. She watched it again, and again, until the screen blurred with tears. They weren't tears of regret. They were tears of clarity. Because now she understood something vital and cruel. It wasn't the clip that destroyed everything. It was what the clip revealed about her. That she had forgotten what mattered. That she had gambled something sacred for a thrill she couldn't even remember clearly. And the people around her, they weren't angry because she made a mistake. They were devastated because they had believed in someone who turned out to be hollow where it counted most. Love, Mia realized, might forgive, but trust does not forget. And as she looked into her own reflection that night, pale, worn, unrecognizable, she saw not a victim of exposure, but the architect of her own ruin. And there was no one left to blame. The rain came not in torrents, but in a gentle, persistent hush. It was the kind of morning that blurred the line between sorrow and serenity. Drops slipped down rooftops like sighs, pooling at the edges of sidewalks, tapping softly against windows with the insistence of unspoken truths. When Mia opened the gate to her apartment building, her umbrella trembling slightly in the breeze, she noticed the package before she even reached the door. There it was, a box, not wrapped, not addressed, not hidden, just there, exposed to the damp air. A silent monument. She paused. Something inside her already knew. Some primal part of her heart. That old compass once tuned to Ryan's steadiness, stirred with a sick recognition. She stepped closer. The wedding dress was there. Folded, but not lovingly, pressed down by the weight of other relics, their photo album. The one she'd spent hours curating with soft filters and faux candids. The velvet box that held her engagement ring sat opened, slightly askew, as if even the metal band had recoiled. And the invitation, cut clean down the center, as if someone had taken a knife to the word forever. No note, no anger, just absence. But it screamed louder than any confrontation ever could. A message so precise in its silence. It pierced deeper than words. Mia sank to her knees. The rain dotted her hair, slid down her back, soaked through the thin fabric of her coat. But she didn't move. Her fingers reached out, trembling, grazing the corner of the album, the soaked edges of the RSVP cards, the sliver of satin from the dress hem that now looked ghostly in the gray light. Her breath caught as a single sentence echoed, not from a text. Not from his lips, but from memory, the last time Ryan had whispered it. They were curled up on the floor surrounded by moving boxes and pizza boxes and chaos. "I loved you enough to marry you," he had said. But now, the second half arrived, sharp and unforgiving, but not enough to tolerate your recklessness. She whispered it aloud, as if saying it herself could somehow take ownership of the pain. But it didn't, it just made it real. Somewhere far from the rain, far from the city, Ryan stood in the highlands of the northern range. The air here was clean, untouched, crisp with altitude and heavy with pine. A narrow dirt road led to a cabin tucked between two hills, where even the birds flew lower, as if in reverence. No one knew him here. No one asked where he'd come from, or why his eyes looked like they'd held back 100 storms. There was no Wi-Fi, no posts, no birthdays remembered or tagged photos to review. The world, for once, was allowed to be quiet. Each morning, Ryan would rise with the sun, not because he wanted to, but because his soul no longer knew how to sleep in. He kept a journal now. The pages were filled not with poetry or blame, but simple thoughts, anchoring truths, a way to steady the drift of his heart. On this morning, with the fire still crackling and steam curling from a chipped mug, he wrote, "Marriage should never begin with a cruel joke. The one who truly loves you would never gamble with your heart." He underlined it twice. There was no bitterness left in his handwriting, only clarity. Out in the fields, the grass turned golden in the light. Long stalks swayed gently, as if bowing to something they couldn't name. Ryan stood in the middle of it all. Shirt sleeves rolled, eyes to the horizon. The wind pressed against his chest, lifted his collar, whispered through the valley like a hymn. He wasn't waiting anymore, not for answers, not for redemption. He wasn't angry, he wasn't broken, he had simply stepped out of the war and chosen peace. And it looked like this: silence, earth, breath. He closed his eyes for a moment. No more images of hotel rooms. No more phantom laughter, just wind and wildflowers. There are wounds that scream, and there are wounds that echo. His had done both, but now, they had softened, scarred over. He opened his eyes, took one step forward into the gold. Behind him, there was no trail, no explanation left hanging, no need. And as the screen faded to black, the final words appeared, not from Ryan, not from MIA, but from the space between them where love used to live. You can't control betrayal, but you can choose how to walk away.